What is the Torah? What is the Tanakh, the Talmud, the Nevi'im, and the Ketuvim, I think is how you say it. Shalom, this is Zoe back here with another vlog where I research and explore what it means to be Jewish. On this week's vlog, I am going to be sharing what I have found on the texts and books that are held sacred by the Jewish people. Disclaimer. There's a lot of terminology in this episode. At least there's a lot of Hebrew language in this episode, which I am sure that I will be unintentionally butchering, so my apologies beforehand. Another sort of disclaimer, I'm not here to explain how and why the Bible, which I believe, particularly the Gospels, I'm not here to explain how they hold authority and why they hold authority, but I can point out that nearly every religion has their book. Christianity has their Bible, Islam has the Quran, the Mormons have their Book of Mormon, and of course the Jews have the Torah. But what makes the Torah so unique? The Hebrew language is one of the easiest languages to learn because of its simplicity, but also because every letter has both a spiritual and a numerical significance to them. I'm going to use Bethlehem, for example. Beth is translated to Bet, and Bet means house. Lehem is translated to lechem, meaning bread. So the town of Bethlehem, the name of Bethlehem, literally means house of bread. Cool, but so what? Here's where the spiritual significance comes into play. Jesus was born in Bethlehem, right? In John 6:35 of the New Testament, Jesus refers to himself as the bread of life. Jesus said to them, "I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me shall not hunger, but whoever believes in me shall never thirst." How cool is that? But it gets better. In Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 through 25, Jesus again speaks of himself as being the house, a structure that cannot be shaken. He says, "Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house. Yet it did not fall, because it had its foundation on the rock." Therefore, the place where Jesus was born in foreshadowed his purpose. That's amazing. So what does Torah mean? In the Hebrew language, Torah actually has multiple meanings, all of them significant, but in this case, it means the first 5 books of Moses. That includes Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. The purpose of these books were to lay down the law, and Torah actually means the law. To me, this is where it gets kind of confusing because I thought the Pentateuch was the first 5. Perhaps someone can call me out on this. But what about the other books, specifically the ones that came after the Torah that make up what Christianity refers to as the Old Testament? So anything that comes pre-Christ. The Torah is just the beginning. Literally. But it's the beginning of a bigger book, really. That's what I found. The very first section of the Old Testament. This is where it gets a little confusing for me. And it's important to note that the Jews do not use the terms Old Testament or New Testament. They do not include anything past the book of Matthew since the Messiah has not come for them yet. Judaism 101 is a wonderful resource that I used to help me write this episode. They actually created a list that easily breaks down these different sections. Name of the section will be given first with its meaning, along with the book and its Hebrew title that it starts with, and then the book that it ends with. Here we go. Follow along with me as best as you can. Starting with the Torah, or the law. This is Genesis, Bereshith through Deuteronomy, the Davarim. The second section is the Nevi'im, the prophets. Joshua or Yehoshua through Malachi. And then there's the Ketuvim, the writings. This is Psalms, Tehillim, through Chronicles, Divrei HaYamim. Now the name Tanakh, which I mentioned earlier, refers to written or acrostic Torah, Nevi'im, or Ketuvim together. These are what are read in synagogue or at parshiot. These are weekly readings where the first 5 books of the Tanakh, known as Chumash, which means 5 in Hebrew. And Talmud is the study or interpretation of the Torah, which is a separate book in itself. Britannica defines it as such: the Talmud, a compilation of ancient teachings regarded as sacred and normative by Jews, from the time that it was compiled until modern times, and still so regarded by traditional religious Jews. So this in itself is broken up into 6 different sections, along with several subsections. In this video, I'm only going to be doing the main 6. So those 6 sections of the Talmud are the seeds, or the Zeraim. This is dealing with agriculture laws. And then there's the festival, Moed, dealing with Shabbat and festivals. Then you have the Nishim, which is women, anything that deals with marriage, divorce, and contracts. The Nezikin, damages, dealing with tort laws and other financial laws. Then you have the holy things, or the Kadashim, dealing with sacrifices in the temple. And lastly, you have your Taharot, purities, dealing with laws of ritual purity and impurity. Now, on to the coolest part, in my opinion, of this episode. So the original copies of the Torah were handwritten onto animal skins or parchment paper. And the pages of parchment were sewn together and the ends were attached to cylindrical rollers. You've probably seen them before. This is how they are still made and used in synagogues. This next part I originally learned from this couple who attends my church. They were actually missionaries in Israel for a few years, and I've had the pleasure to learn a lot about Israel from this couple. And I kind of already knew about this, but I never researched it beforehand. Every year, a Torah scroll containing the first 5 books, or the Pentateuch, I believe, is handwritten word for word by a specially trained scribe on parchment paper, just like they used to, as they had been doing since ancient times. And it's carried into the city of Jerusalem. So they work on writing the whole 5 books of the Torah by hand, just like they used to, and it's done by one person, and they do it, I think, for the entire year. And it's this big celebration when they complete it and they bring it into the city of Jerusalem. For some reason, I had a very hard time researching this tradition, and I didn't find much on it. I know it's a thing because I remember when it happened this year, there were photos, the news did a story on it, I swear it's a thing. So if you know what this happens to be called, please let me know in the comments below. Well, that's it for this week. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you have not, and make your bubby proud by doing so. Shavua Tov. And to my fellow American audience, happy Thanksgiving. Yay, I have my mic back up. Is that, oh, nope, okay, that's as far as that's gonna go. Oh no! It's just so beautiful, and I have to cover it up. It's easy to learn because my dog is whining. Olive, hush. There's something up with my phone stand. There we go. Kind of.